Hello there. This is the third attempt to record this video. This video is about the chapter number 5 that is called the Internet and its uses. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this a little bit faster. My purpose is that this video is not too much longer, but with a great explanation for you. Okay, the Internet and its uses. So, do you remember what is internet? So, the internet is a network or the network of networks or the global network of internet computers. So, I'm going to try to do this a little bit faster. So, remember that I explained to you the previous year and in the previous video about hardware about a network. So let's suppose that this is your computer and this is another computer. Let's suppose that we are at school. This is the LCB. These computers are connected to something that is called router. And the router is connected to another device that is called modem. And the modem allow us to connect to the internet. Okay? Now, what do we have here? We have another network and another network and another network and another network. That is the reason that the internet is a global network of internet computers. Okay. And that means that for having internet, we need a physical network of computers. Now, this one uses a protocol that is called TCP/IP, and this is a protocol of transferring. Okay. And okay, that's all for this part. Now, www. Do you remember this? Because I used that point in one of the mock that you present. Okay, so what is www? W is a collection of web pages. Okay, the www World Wide Web is a service that runs on the internet and consists of web pages that can be accessed through a web browser. Okay, so here in this part, I am going to talk about a lot of things. So please pay attention. Once again, let's suppose this is your computer. In your computer, you use something that is your web browser. In this case, let's suppose that we're going to use Google Chrome. Okay. When you open Google Chrome, you are going to write something that is called URL. Okay. Uniform Resource Locators. So with the URL, you are going to locate a specific page on the internet. Okay. So let me give you an example. Here I'm going to write HTTP www sample example.com slash home slash index dot html. And maybe you are going to type https slash and the same www example.com slash home slash index dot html. Okay, so you are going to use your computer, Google Chrome, and you are going to type a URL to enter to this page, all this side. Okay, okie dokie. Okay, so www is just a collection of web pages that use hyperlinks to navigate one page to another page, to another page, and to another page, and get back to the previous page, and etc. Okay. Now, these are the definitions. So you can go to this page just for remember. I'm going to do it faster. So, internet definition: network of computers and servers. The purpose: allows communication between devices. The components: routers, cables, data centers, servers, and more. Protocols: TCP/IP, FTP, and SMTP, and more. And an example of services: email, cloud storage, online gaming, and etc. World Wide Web, yeah, is when you are using a specific page, for example, facebook.com. Okay, so www is a collection of websites and web pages. Provides access to online content. As I explained a few moments ago, you want to go to facebook.com, so you are accessing to that content. The components: web pages, hyperlinks, URLs, etc. The protocols used: HTTP and HTTPS. Examples: Google, Facebook, Wikipedia. Okay. Now, this is just an example, but I am not going to use it in this moment. Okay, let's use it faster. Let's suppose that you are in a highway, you are traveling. So this highway is the internet. And you see around you some buildings. Those buildings are www. Let's suppose that this building is for YouTube. So you are traveling across the internet and you get to the server of YouTube. Okay. So this is the example analogy. Okay. Now the URL, as I explained you here in this part, we have the URL that means Uniform Resource Locator. That is the address used to access to a specific web page or resource on the internet, as I explained you. So I want to explain you. Let me try adding a new page here. So this is our first page. I'm going to add a new one and I'm going to explain you this part here. So we have https slash www dot example, I'm going to write it like this, dot com slash home slash index dot html. Okay, this is the URL. What do we have here? This one is the protocol, the HTTPS. Now, here, www sample.com. This is the domain name. Okay, and the rest, this part says the path file. Okay, so try to remember and this. Okay, that is the structure of a URL. Okay, okay, the components. The first one that I will explain you, we have HTTP, we have HTTPS, HTTP, and another one that is called FTP. This is just for sharing files over the internet. Okay, this one is secure, this one is not secure. Okay, now the domain name, this part here, is an unique name on the internet. You cannot find two pages with the same name. For example, www.facebook.com. and you go to Facebook and you type once again www.facebook.com and you go to another kind of content and it's not the real Facebook. You cannot find that. Facebook is just is like your ID. Your ID is just for you. It's not for another student. It's pretty similar to that. And the path and file name is just the that tells to the browser where the unspecific page is located. Okay. And obviously the browser is going to go to that path and is going to load that page. Next one. This part is just optional, and I am not going to explain this because I am pretty sure that you are not going to be assessed with this part, this one is specific. Okay, and okay, why are URLs important? It's easier to remember than an IP address. I'm going to give you an example. If you have, let's suppose that you want to go to Facebook, but remember that all computer connected to a network gets an identification that is called IP address. And that IP address is a number. It's the same on the internet, but it's easier for you to remember this part www.facebook.com than remember this number. Tell me if that is not true. It's easier to remember facebook.com that 57 that 144 that 114 that 1. It's obviously that number is so hard to remember. Now, why are URLs important? Because helps to locate specific resources on the web, allows user to navigate websites efficiently, and includes secures like HTTPS. Okay, next one. Now, what is HTTP? HTTP is a hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, and we have HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol secure. Okay, and that is the foundation of data communication on the web. Okay, so let's talk about first what is HTTP. Hypertext Transfer Protocol is a protocol used for transferring web pages from a server to a browser. What that means? So let's get back now here to this part. You have your computer. You are going to use Google Chrome. And here you type HTTPS. Okay, wait. HTTP. HTTP slash slash www.example.com. Okay, slash home slash index.html. Okay, so using the web browser, you request to access to this page. So the browser sends the information, founds the server that has this page. Okay. So the server is going to return to the web browser a collection of web pages. In this case, is going, let's suppose that is going to get back to the web browser index.html. Let's suppose that something that is called style.css. And let's suppose another file that is called access.jas. Okay. And the web browser renders this information in a way that you can read it. Okay. This is the way how HTTP works. Okay. So here is explained. Now, the disadvantages, there is no encryption here and you are vulnerable to attacks. Okay. Now, let's talk about HTTPS. Okay. So let's create another page here. With HTTPS, it's pretty similar. You have your computer, you have your Google Chrome, and you are going to enter now to a page that is called HTTPS www sample.com/ blah blah blah. Okay, so the browser, this is the request. Remember, this is the request URL. So we found the server that has this page. So the server identifies that you are connecting using HTTPS. HTTPS. So the server sends to your web browser an SSL TLS certificated. Why? Because you need to communicate between your browser and the server in an encrypted way. That is the reason that a certificate is generated, is sent to the web browser, and when the web browser accepts that certificate, you start transferring information in a secure way. Okay, so that means that that ensures confidentiality, integrity, and authenticity of data. Okay, next one. How that works? I already explained you. Advantages: data encryption that prevents of hacking, improves trust. That means that when you find pages that start with HTTPS, you are going to be a little more secure. Why do I say that? Because there are today many pages that uses HTTPS, but those pages contains viruses, and that is the reason that I told you, be sure that the place that you are entering in is secure. Okay, and using HTTPS, that means that your CEO, you are going to have CEO benefits. What that means, that let's suppose that you are going to create a web page. I'm going to write here web page, and you want to be in the first places of search engines. What that means, ustedes crearon una página web y digamos que aquí vamos a buscar mascotas. Mascotas. Tin. Las páginas que aparecen en los primeros lugares, si se dan cuenta, la mayoría son HTTPS, HTTPS, HTTPS. Entonces, si ustedes usan HTTPS, eso es lo que se llama CEO, es decir, su página es rankeada. Eso es lo que hace Google. Si ustedes tienen una página HTTP, olvídense de que van a ser rankeados. Okay, so let's continue now here. Next slide. So I already explained this. So you have this table for information to access. Now let's continue here. Web browser, purpose and functions. I already explained you a little bit about one purpose of the web browser. The main purpose of web browsers is to interpret and display HTML, hypertext, markup language, web pages, and connects the web server using HTTP or HTTPS to fetch and display requested web pages. What that means? What I'll explain you here. So you have your web browser, twin, 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 and that connect with the server where the page is located using or HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, and it's going to fetch and display the request page. What is fetch? Is when how do you explain this? I'm going to explain it in Spanish. Para mí, fetch es como cuando usted ah, hace una solicitud, se envía, digamos que ustedes fueron al CCA y le dijeron a Miss Natalia que quieren el libro, un libro X. Entonces ella va y busca el libro X y cuando encuentra el libro X se los devuelve o se los da. That means that part, okay? And the web browser enables users to navigate to the internet by entering the URL, okay, using the search engines like Google, okay? Okie dokie. Now, the key functions. The first one I already explained you, rendering web pages. Now, storing bookmarks and favorites, okay? So you can use, let me show you here. What is bookmarks? If you notice here in this part, I am going to click here, for example, here. These are the pages that I use for the school. So this is a bookmark, like favorite places that I save here to, for example, what about Quiz So I'm going to come here and I go to Quiz. Oh, I want to go to, okay, all the students' emails. Okay, I'm going to click here and I'm going to go there. Okay, so that means with bookmark. Sorry. Okay. Okie dokie. So let me move back here. Recording user history. So for example, if I want to press Control H. So here we have all the history of my navigations here on my computer. Okay. What else? Allowing use of multiple tabs. Ah, this is what you do and I do. Look at, I have a lot of tabs here. That is another main purpose of your web browser. Okay, so let's continue here. I can storing cookies. What cookies means? The cookies are small text files that store users' preferences and sessions data. What that means? For example, when I log in here in the Liceo, in this page, in Fidias, I use my credentials. So I use my username and password. So when I log in here, small files are created. Those files are temporarily, okay, and allows me, for example, if I want to open in another tab, once again, Fidias, I don't have to log in again. Why? Because I already did it and the cookies are used for that purpose. Okay. Providing navigation tools. For example, refresh, back, forward, the address bar, and etc. Okay. How a web browser works step by step, and I already explained you here. It's the same. You use Google Chrome, you put the URL, so the URL sends a request to the server that that page is located using HTTP or HTTPS, and the server responds sending the HTML, the CSS, JavaScript files, and more. Okay, and the browser renders, interprets all the information and renders the information in the way that you are going to understand. Okay, and obviously you as user interacts with the web page, that using the web browser. Okay, so here you have a summary table. Now, how web pages are located, retrieved, and displayed. Okay, so here you need to remember once again that one part of this is done for the web browser. Okay, so but let me read this for you. When a user enters a URL, uniform resource locator in a web browser, several processes happen in the background to locate, retrieve, and display the request web page. This involves web browser, IP addresses, DNS servers, web servers, and HTMLs. Okay, so the first one, you type on your browser www.youtube.com. What happened next? The name that you put, facebook.com, now needs to be converting from that domain name to an IP address, okay, using something that is called DNS, domain name server resolution. What that means? Every website is hosted in a web server that has a unique IP address. Okay. We as humans use domain names. We don't use the IP address. Now, the browser contacts a domain name server to convert the domain name into a IP address. Let me explain you here using drawings. I'm going to use another page. Okie dokie, this is your computer as always, and you type in your web browser, in this case, Google Chrome, https://www.facebook.com, for example. So the web browser contacts something that is called DNS, that is domain name server. Let's suppose this is something, an example, an analogical example, that the DNS is a table in which here you have www.facebook.com. And for Facebook, you have a Lord IP address. For example, let's suppose that you have to those are numbers like this one. Let me show you here. This is one of the numbers of Facebook. I'm going to write it here. 57 144 114.1. Okay, so the DNS finds what is the IP address that you need to go to facebook.com in this moment. Okay, that is what the DNS does. Checking a list, compares the domain name that you write, and identify what is the IP address that you need to go, in this case, to Facebook. Next one. Now, the web server is contact. So, having the IP address, so you have 57, this number, and this number. This is the IP address or one server of, say, Facebook. So the server is contact. Okay, so the server received the request. That means that now the server with this request is going to give back as an answer all the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and more files to the web browser. Then the web browser renders translate, and show you all the information in a way that a human can read it. Okay? Okie dokie. Next one. So here you have a brief summary about what I have explained. Um, Cookies. Here we have more about cookies. As I told you, cookies are small text files stored in a user device, in this case, in your computer, your cell phone, on whatever device that you use to go to the internet to remember user preferences, login details, and shopping cart items. What a cookie are? A cookie is created by a website and stored in your user's web browser. When the user returns to the site, the cookie helps retrieve saved information, making the experience smoother, más suave, más rápido. Cookies do not store virus or execute code. They are just data files. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose that you are going to go, okay, let's suppose that this is the first time that I'm going to enter to this page. Let's suppose that this is the first ever time. So the first time that I'm going to access to it, the loading of this page is going to be slow. So this page stores cookies on my computer. Why? Because the second time that I'm going to access to the same page is going to be faster. That is another reason that we use or the computer uses cookies. Okay, let's continue. Here, how are cookies used? Save personal information, tracking your user preferences. For example, a website detects if you are using dark or light mode. As I told you, for example, your credentials could be remembered using cookies. If you are shopping, for example, in Amazon and you put some items in your car shop, let's suppose that you add some items to your car shop. You decide to, okay, I'm going to stop here, I'm going to sleep, then tomorrow I am going to continue with this shopping. So you go back to your Amazon profile and you are going to go to your car shopping and s- you are going to continue having the items that you added the previous day. Okay. Um, for storing login details that I already explained that. Okay. Now, types of cookies. There are session cookies. The session cookies are temporary cookies. Okay. I already explained you just using Fidias. I am going to open another Fidias. And if you notice in this moment, I didn't have, I received another. Okay, so I need to go here to messages and here. Okay, if you notice, I don't have to put my credentials again. Why? Because my Google Chrome is using cookies just for remember those credentials. Okay, okie dokie. Now, persistent cookies. That cookies are permanent. Those are files that are stored long term on the user's device. Do not get deleted when the browser is closed. What that means, if I close my browser, those um, cookies are not deleted. Okay? And is used for remembering login detail preferences or tracking user for advertising. Okay? Are cookies safe? The cookies themselves are not harmful, but they can be misused for tracking user activity or target advertising. For example, I am going to open once again here. For example, let's suppose that here I am using, let's suppose, let me try YouTube once again. Um, okay, when you are watching a video in this moment, I am not going to do it. Let's suppose that I'm going to watch a video. Um, let's suppose that I was looking about Subaru's car. Okay. Possibly in this moment that I'm using these images, there are cookies that are, and they are being stored in my computer, and possibly, maybe, if I enter to I don't know, Amazon. I am not going to do it right now. Mercado Libre. Maybe I am going to get advertising about Subaru. Okay, that is another way that the cookies are used for. Okay, now let's continue here. Now, let's talk about digital currency. Okay, do you know what is that? Digital currency, I'm going to open a new page. Do you know what is currency? When we are talking about currency, we are talking about money. Okay, currency. For example, here in Colombia, we use COP, pesos colombianos. In the United States of America, they use USD, dólar americano. In another places, we have U U EUR, that is euro. G I forgot. Okay, um, leave it like this. This is currency. That means the normal currency that we use to go to the store to buy something in Carrefour, whatever. That means coins or bills. Now, digital currency, we are talking about a digital money, okay? That is like cryptocurrencies. When we are talking about, for example, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Wemix, um, another kind of currency that is not the normal currency that we use usually. Okay. How are digital currencies used? For example, if you have, let me explain you here. I am going to use this. This is the a game that I usually game play. Sorry. And let me show you. I'm going to go to this page that is called Extraco. There is a cryptocurrency for this game. And I'm going to use NFT. That means that, for example, this one, okay, this um character, the person that put it here is selling it. And this one, it cost is 45,000 Wemix. But let me see what is Wemix. Wemix is another cryptocurrency that you are going to use for buying, in this case, characters here in Mirfor. Okay. So that is the use that we can give to cryptocurrencies just for online purchases. Peer-to-peer transactions, what that means? That, for example, I want to send to you some Satoshis or maybe some Bitcoins or maybe some Ethereums. So I'm going to make that is called peer-to-peer transaction, transferencia punto a punto, from here to your place. Investments, what that means. For example, if you want it, you can invertir. For example, this is the Bitcoin um, graphic graphs of Bitcoin. So this graph is moving because the people, when this grows up, is because many people are buying Bitcoin. If this one is going down, is because possibly something happens that makes the people to take the decision for not buying more Bitcoins but selling Bitcoins. Okay, so that is the reason that the price start moving down. Okay, that is investment. Cross-border payments. So, for example, let's suppose, as I show you in this page. No, for example, let's suppose that you are giving to me a service about, I don't know, you are going to teach me how to play Free Fire, for example. I don't know, but you are asking me money for teaching me that. Okay. So when you teach me, and I'm going to pay you using cryptocurrencies. Okay. So I'm going to send money to you. Okay. Maybe here in Colombia or maybe to another country around the world, but not using banks, just using cryptocurrencies. Okay. And as I show you, gaming and virtual economies. Okay. This is what I show you. Purchasing in game assets, virtual items, and online services. Okay. Another one. Advantages of digital currencies. The transactions are faster. So, for example, in this moment, it is 7:50. Let's suppose that I'm going to send you some cryptocurrency that may take 15 minutes as much for you to get in the money. If I transfer the money using my normal currency from my bank to your bank, for this hour, you need to wait until tomorrow to get the money. Okay. You can do it worldwide. Okay. You just need an internet connection. Lower transaction cost. So I don't know how to say that. The cost that possibly you must pay transferring money from your bank account to another bank account using cryptocurrencies is lower than using your normal bank. And security and transparency. Cryptocurrencies use something that is called blockchain technology for secure transactions. Disadvantages. There are many, many parts in the world that doesn't accept cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency. Cybersecurity risk. That means that, for example, you need something that is called e-wallet, and possibly your e-wallet. Let's suppose that I'm going to transfer you some bitcoins to your wallet, from my wallet to your wallet. Okay. So when I start sending my bitcoins to your wallet, this transaction is secure. That means that you are going to get the money. That money is not going to get to another user. Is I get your wallet number, so is the money is going to be transferred to your wallet's number. But someone can hack your wallet. So you could have the risk that you are going to lose your cryptocurrency. Okay. Price volatility. That means that, look at this one. The price of cryptocurrencies can change so fast. The price. Okay, let's continue here. And regulatory issues. Some governments restrict or ban certain digital currency. Let's suppose that here in Colombia, our dear presidents decide to block any Bitcoin transaction. Okay, if he decide to do that, nobody can deny it. Okay, next one. What is blockchain? A blockchain is a digital ledger that records transactions in a secure, transparent, and tamper-proof way. It is a time-stamped series of records stored in blocks, which are linked together in a chain. Okay, let me try to explain you in this way. Wait a moment. Okay, yeah, I really don't know what happened here. So blockchain is, let me try to explain you in this way. Let's suppose that you and your friends have a book, okay? In this book, let's suppose that you are going to start um, storing information. So let's suppose that here you store something here. What happens? All your friends and you must be agree with the information that is going to be put in the blockchain. Okay. Now, wait a second, please. Huh? What happened? Okay, okay. Okay. Um, so let's suppose that you and your friends get this notebook and you are going to write in this notebook everything you want to write. Let's suppose that is a kind of bitácora. Bitácora. Hoy le presté mis zapatos a mi compañera. Mi compañera me devolvió los zapatos. Hoy entre todos compramos un helado de chocolate. So everything that you are going to do, you can write it here. But there are some rules to write something here. One rule is that nobody is going to erase the information. That means that all your friends, including you, must be agree. Must the you all of you are agree with all the information that you are going to write. And obviously everything that you do must be writing. That is called blockchain. Blockchain. Okay? That is key features. Decentralized. That means that nobody controls the information. It's like the central bank. For example, let me explain you. When you are going to, here in Colombia, you are going to move, let's suppose that you have David Plata, and somebody has Nekin, and let's suppose something has in Scotia Banco Patria. You are going to move money from David Plata to Scotia Banco Patria. So, el Banco de la República needs to know that you are moving money from this account to this account and how much are you going to move. Now you are going to send money from Scotiabank Colpatria to Neki. So, el Banco de la República needs to know that you are going to move from this account to this account and how much are you going to move and obviously when. That means centralize. But digital currency using blockchain is decentralized. That means that if you want to move some bitcoins, bitcoins from your wallet to another person wallet, nobody knows. Nobody, just you and that person. That means decentralized. Immutable. Once recorded, transaction cannot be altered. So that means you are going to send one BTC And let's suppose that these people, okay, I found this transaction. Now I am going to put 0.52 here to that person and the other part for me. No, nobody can do it. If you send one BTC arrives to the destination. Okay? Transparent. Every participant in the network can see the transaction history and is secure. Use cryptography to prevent fraud and hacking. Okay, next one. How does work? So just start creating the transaction. So let's suppose I'm going to try drawing here. So let's suppose that you are here, okay, and you start the transaction. So you are going to move one BTC to one wallet to another wallet. Now, transaction verification. That means that this one is going to go to many computers. That those computers are called nodes. Okay, so this transaction is sent to many. Let me do it like this: to here, to here, 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 here. Okay, and this transaction is going to be verified using cryptographic algorithms. So they are going to solve some algorithms to solve the transaction. Okay. Then when the transaction is verified, you are going to be add or your transaction is going to be add to a block. Okay. With other transactions. So for example, this is you sending one BTC and this is me sending to BTC and etc. Okay. Now, those transactions must be validated by a network using a consensus mechanism like proof of work or proof of stakes. Those are algorithms, just algorithms that many computers needs to solve. Okay. Then that block this block is add to the blockchain chain. Okay. And this one, let's suppose this transaction is added following another transaction. It's like let's suppose that in this part someone sends one BTC. Then we are going to have another one here, and let's suppose this is mine, 2 BTC. Then another one sends another one. And let's suppose that here someone is sending 0.5 BTC. Then another one is going to send another one. This is the blockchain. Okay. So all the transaction is record. Okay. And is record like a change. Then the transaction is complete. So that means that you receive your digital currency and the transaction is permanently recorded in the blockchains so that it never is going to be deleted. Okay, so why blockchain is important for digital currency is security for transactions, is you don't need to ask for permission for sending a digital currency to another person. Nobody controls the blockchains. All transactions are publicly record, so is recorded and all the people that is inside the blockchains can see all people's transactions. Okay, it's faster and it's trustly. Okay, next one, real world application of blockchains. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other digital currencies rely on blockchains. Smart contracts, self-executing contracts that operate without intermediaries, supply chain management. Companies use blockchains to track products and prevent counter, counterfeiting. Voting systems ensures transparent and tamper-proof elections. Healthcare records securely stores and shares medical records. Next one. Cybersecurity threats, processes, and aims. This is another topic in which you need to understand the cybersecurity threats that we can have on the internet. The aims of the attacks or vulnerabilities compromise your confidentiality to integrity and availability of data and systems. Common cybersecurity threats, brute force attack. Okay. Um, this is for this one. I really don't remember if you have seen some movies where someone is going to open, for example, a door that is using a password. Let's suppose that here you need to put a password to enter to open the door. So brute force attack means that you are going to start sending many multiple passwords combinations. Let's suppose that you are going to send 1 2 3 4 15 and many in the way that you are going to um guess or you get the password to open the door. Okay. Aim, that is to gain unauthorized access to accounts, systems, and encrypt files. Preventions, use strong passwords, long, complex, and unique. Enable multi-factor authentication and limit the number of failed login attempts. What that means, let's suppose that you are going to configure your Facebook account that is going to allows you to have just 3 fails attempts. That means that if someone put the attempts number 4, something is going to happen. Okay. So if you leaves that use a lot of attempts, possibly your, in this case, Facebook account is going to be hacked. Okay. Another one, data interceptions. That means that there are many people, sorry, watching over a network for information. And the aim to them is stealing login credentials, credit card numbers, personal information. How do you prevent that? Use encryptions. You can use VPNs or be secure that you always are using HTTPS. Okay. Avoid using Wi-Fi or VPNs on unsecured networks. I'm going to give you an example. Let's suppose that you are going to travel from here to Bogota to España. You are in the Aeropuerto Internacional El Dorado and you receive a message that join free to the Wi-Fi airport. O sea, tienen internet en el aeropuerto gratis. Únete, no hay claves. No, don't do that. Because that is a public Wi-Fi and maybe there are many people connected expecting that you start using personal information, credit card numbers, and something like this, and your information could be stealed. Okay, so be careful with that. Distributed denial of service, that is DDoS attack. What that means, that one page, for example, let's suppose that we have, um, I don't know, YouTube, and someone start sending lots of requests to YouTube. Okay, so that means that the server is going to be overloaded. Let me explain you here with a drawing. Let's suppose that this is YouTube, a glass of water, and you start, you send, just you send, okay, I want to watch this video. Normal. Zoop. Another one sent, okay, this is the video that I want to watch. Now, let's suppose that one person starts sending using a lot of computers or using a lot of scripts and start sending a lot of retrievals, requests. Then what is going to happen to YouTube? The same that what happened with my glass disappears. So the server is going to go down. Okay. So how do you avoid that? Using firewalls and traffic filtering. So with traffic filtering, you are going to identify malicious requests. So you are going to block them. Okay. So that is the reason why YouTube allows millions of people watching videos at the same time because they identify the normal request with malicious request. Then they block the malicious request. Okay. Another one, hacking. Hacking is the process for exploiting system vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access. Okay. Can be ethical, white hat, and malicious, black hat. Okay. The purpose of this is to steal data, disrupt systems, or cause damages. How do you prevent this? Keep your software updated and use firewalls. Another one, malware. We talk about this in one class. Malware is malicious software that infects your system. You can be infected using emails, downloads, USB, or websites. The aim of this is to steal data, corrupt files, or take control of your system. Okay? And here you have different types of malware. Virus are attached to files to spreads when is executed. Worm self-replicates and spreads without user action. Trojan horse, this which and as legitimate software. For example, when you buy a software, have you seen those videos about el CD que compré en el semáforo y que suena una canción típica y que después empieza a sonar una vaina así toda rara? Eso es un caballo de Troya. Algo que parece ser legítimo, pero no lo es. Spyware monitors users' activities and steals data. Adware displays unwanted ads and may collect data. And ransomware encrypts files and demands ransoms for decryptions. Okay. Ding. Farming. Farming is the process of giving you fake web pages. Those fake web pages mimics real ones. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's suppose that you receive message from WhatsApp to an unknown people saying you that you have something. Let me explain this in another way. Supongamos que a ustedes les llega un mensaje de texto que los manda a la página de su banco de preferencia diciendo que por favor entre, que tiene un dinero que va a entrar. y usted entra al link y es una página exactamente igual, supongamos a Bancolombia, igualitica, pero no es. Y usted coloca su usuario y su clave, lo robaron. Por eso a veces salen esos videos de hicieron, me hackearon. Lo hackearon, no, usted dio la información. So be careful of that. That is farming. When you receive a fake website that is really pretty similar to the real one. Okay. Next one. Phishing. Phishing are fake emails, messages, or websites to trick you to reveal your information. Okay. That is used for stealing usernames, passwords, and credit card details. It's pretty similar to the previous one, but the previous one is just a page that you access that is pretty similar to another one. In this one is an email that you receive saying, please come here that you have a price to claim. And you go and it's asking you some information about you. And that is another way that you are going to be hacked or your information is going to be stealed. Okay. Social engineering, that is the way for manipulating people into giving away confidential information. Let me give you an example. You receive a phone call and is someone that is scared or is crying or is screaming, saying that one relative of you is had an accident. Okay, so you start saying, okay, a relative, who's that? And they are start asking some questions to take information from you. For example, ay, por favor, venga, necesito que venga y que me ayude. No, 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 en este momento no puedo ir, es que estoy con mi hermanito pequeño. Y no hay nadie más allá que pueda ayudarle. ¿Usted con quién vive? ¿No? They start asking questions just for taking information from you. That could be phone calls, fake support agents, or fake emails. Okay. So I sorry we were here. So the aim is to bypass security by tricking users into revealing information. Prevention, train employees to recognize scams. So you need to know when you are receiving a fake phone calls. Okay. And please verify identities before sharing sensitive data. Okay. That is the summary of threats and countermeasures. Now, how do you protect from severe security threats? Okay. So, access levels. What is this? Use different levels of permissions. Okay. What that means, let me give you an example. It's like using patterns. Let me give you an example. If you receive a phone call talking about that you need to send some money to one relative that is in danger, so start you asking questions that you know that only one person knows. If that person start giving you the real answers, that means that that situation is real. But if not, okay, you are identifying that you are receiving a scam, okay, and someone is trying to change, to get information from you, okay. About the computer, use anti-malware software, antivirus, anti-spyware, and software that helps you to keep your computer clean and secure. Okay. Authentications. So, for example, when you are going to enter to your Office 365, so you use your traditional method of username and password. Please use biometrics or use two-step verifications. Okay, so you need to do that the access to your accounts are secure. Okay, and automating software updates, that means that please you need to, for example, update your Windows, update your iOS if you have an iPhone, update your Android, keeps your software updated. Okay. Um, Checking the spelling and tone of communication. What that means. If you are receiving an email, try to identify how that person writes. For example, you receive an email from your bank, and if you receive an email from your bank, check the grammar. Okay. Check the use of the language that you speak, and you are going to identify this person doesn't know how to write. So yes, okay, I am going to believe. I hope you understand this. Okay. Um, Check the URL attached to a link. If you receive, for example, a link, you need to identify that link is the real one. I'm going to give you an example. Let's suppose that you receive um, a link to watch a video on Facebook. So you need to identify that the URL is facebook.com. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose that you have fakes Facebook. In this one, is that looks like a Facebook, but it's a zero instead of no. So that means that you are receiving a fake URL. Okay, so please verify that just for security. Um, Another one, firewalls. Please use a firewall. It's a security system that monitors and controls the network traffic, blocks unauthorized access while allowing safe communication. Privacy settings controls your personal information online. Be careful with the information that you share online on social media, browser applications, wherever. Okay. Use proxy servers. A proxy service is an intermediary between your device and the internet that hides your IP address and protect your privacy. Secure socket layer, that is SSL security protocol. That is something to encrypt information while the information is transmitted between the browser and a website. That is the reason for doing this, you need to use HTTPS. Okay. And this is a summary of security solutions. And okay, guys, I know that there is a lot of information, and this video is around 1 hour and 13 minutes. So thank you guys for watching this. And if you have any question, let me know. Bye bye.